Hi everyone, my name is Hannah. Welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in August. So I ended up reading 23 books this month, but 3 of those were DNFs, which I'll talk about first, unfortunately. The first book I DNF'd was Hands Down by Mariana Zapata. This is like a spin-off novel from The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, which I absolutely loved, following Zach, Big Texas. And I loved his character in The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, so when I found out that he had a book, I was extremely into that. And I think I got like over 100 pages into it, and I was just not feeling it. I didn't really care for the point of view we were in. I don't even remember what her name was. Couldn't tell you, but I just really didn't enjoy it, and I was like, that usually doesn't happen if I'm gonna enjoy a Mariana Zapata book. I've read 3 other books by her and I've just been like captivated from the first page, and this one I was just really annoyed, so I decided to DNF it and I probably will not pick it up again. The next book I DNF'd was unfortunately A Touch of Ruin by Scarlett St. Clair. This is book 2 in the Touch of Darkness series, which is a Hades and Persephone retelling. I really liked the first book, A Touch of Darkness, but this one just felt like it was like 2 steps backward. Like, you get so much character development with Hades and with Persephone especially, and with their relationship, and then in this book it was just like really annoying, and it was just like it was just there to make conflict. And yeah, I read a bunch of reviews on it, and people were saying that Persephone just felt like a completely different character and that it just wasn't as good, and I'm okay to leave A Touch of Darkness feeling like a standalone. So I DNF'd that one. And then the next book I DNF'd was Full Tilt by Emma Scott. I got like 150 pages into that one, just like halfway, and I just was really not enjoying it. I thought it was super insta-lovey. I thought the characters were kind of annoying, and I just wasn't vibing with it, so I decided to put it down and not pick it back up. So now on to the books that I did complete and finish in this month. The first book that I read in August, I started off the month with quite a wild ride, and that is Your Dad Will Do by Katie Robert, which is just a straight up smutty novella. Like, it was 150 pages of just smut. But it was fun. I mean, it was a wild ride though. But basically, this girl finds out that her fiance is cheating on her, and so they break up, and in order to get revenge, she goes and sleeps with his dad. And that's what it is. She spends the entire weekend with his dad. Sorry if you can hear crashing. That's Brandon putting the dishes away. The next book that I read was Isn't It Bromantic by Alyssa K. Adams. This is the 4th book in the Bromance Book Club series, and I really liked this one. It follows the Russian Vlad, and he's a hockey player, and he is in a marriage of convenience. Basically, his like best friend from childhood from Russia wanted to come and study in the States, and in order to do that, he just like married her and got her a visa to come here. And they've just kind of been separated, but they were best friends growing up, and like he fell hard for her but won't like say it, and she wants to go back to Russia, and he's like not willing to let her leave and doesn't want to get a divorce. So it's their like romance blooming, and it was super cute. I really liked it. I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Him by Al Kennedy and Serena Bowen. This is a male-male hockey romance, which I heard about from Gabby Reads, and it was great. I loved it. If you like hockey romances, it was a really cute one. I really like hockey, so like the Off Campus series by Al Kennedy was fantastic for me because it's just like a series of hockey romances. But this one was super cute. It just follows these 2 guys who went to like hockey camp every summer, and they like were bunkmates, and then something happens when they're younger and they kind of have a falling out a little bit where they just don't talk to each other for like 4 years or something like that. 4 or 5 years, and then they end up reconnecting at like this hockey game. And it's just the cutest thing. It was so sweet. I loved it. I ended up giving that one a 4 out of 5 stars. Then I got into a bit of a thriller kick for a little bit there, and I picked up The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I love this book. I know that it's a very popular thriller, and it's kind of polarizing. Some people really loved it, some people really did not like it, but I was one of the people that really loved it. I thought this was super fun, super fast-paced. Basically, it follows this therapist, Theo, I think his name is, and his patient, Alicia. And basically she got admitted because she shot her husband in the face like 5 times and hasn't spoken a word since then, and everybody that's like tried everything has tried to get her to talk and get her to open up, and she just has not said a single word. And Theo wants to be the one that tries to like figure out what's going on and get her to talk. And I thought this was really, really good. I really liked the twist. I thought it was really like out of left field. Like I just did not see it coming, and like the whole time, like after it happened, I was like, that makes so much sense. Like, why didn't I see that coming? But I just didn't. I thought it was great. I really loved it. And I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Also, I should say, I'm like going through something with my rating system. So basically, all of these ratings mean nothing to me. Like, I'm like looking at it like, is this a 5-star? I don't know. But then there's books that I didn't rate 5 stars where I'm like, would that be a 5-star? Am I being too generous with my 5 stars? I don't know. Ratings are so subjective, but I'm just like trying to rethink my rating and like my rating system, and I don't know. Moving on. The next book I read was Falling Away by Penelope Douglas. This is the fourth. This is the 4th book in the Fall Away series by Penelope Douglas. The first book is Bully, and this one follows Jackson, who I'm not gonna say anything about him because it might be spoilers for like the first book. So I'm not gonna say very much about this other than I really enjoyed it. It's a classic Penelope Douglas, like hate to love kind of situation, and I really liked it. I gave it 4.5 stars. Yeah, 4.5. Then I read House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. This is quite the wild book. Actually, I picked this up because it was like sitting in the clearance bin at Target for some reason. Like there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know why it was on clearance, but I'm not going to complain because I bought it for cheaper than it was listed as. But this one follows 3 sisters, the Hollow sisters, and one night when they're very young, they disappear, and then they come back like 30 days later and don't remember anything, but they all have this little like fishhook shaped scar on their collarbone, and they have no idea what happened to them, but now they can do like strange things, and there's really like no explanation for it. Nobody knows what's going on with them. They're just very strange, and people are kind of like trying to keep their distance from them. But then the eldest sister goes missing, and the 2 younger sisters try to figure out where she is and if it's connected to what happened to them when they were younger, and then they try to figure out what actually happened when they were younger. And yeah, this was definitely a wild ride. I really, really enjoyed it. It was super weird, but like super fast-paced and like captivating. Like I kept having to read so I could figure out what was going on. And I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. Then I picked up The Hunting Wives by May Cobb. First of all, I love this cover. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was super fun. It was just a classic like suburban mom drama situation. Basically, there's this group of wives that call themselves the Hunting Wives because they go out and hunt and they shoot skeet and they drink and they just take some time to themselves from their husbands and they do some like shady crap. But Sophie is new in town, and she becomes like kind of obsessed with like the leader of this group of women, Margot, and she tries to like get into their group. And when Margot invites her, Sophie is kind of willing to do like anything to be a part of this group because she's so obsessed with Margot. And then a body is found near Margot's like woods where they shoot, and Sophie gets kind of like implicated in the murder, and you're like trying to figure out what's going on. It was a good time. I really liked it. Like I said, 4 out of 5 stars. Then, because I picked up The Silent Patient and I really liked it, I ended up picking up The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. This is another thriller following this college professor who kind of has this like group of female students that kind of like fawn over him, but they call themselves the Maidens, and basically they're just like this elite group of girls that like follow this professor. And then when one of the maidens ends up dead, our main character comes into play, Mariana. When Mariana's niece, her friend, she's worried because her friend is the one that gets murdered. And so Mariana comes to campus and like tries to figure out what's going on. Oh, and it takes place at Cambridge. I feel like that's kind of important. But yeah, this one's really good. I wasn't overly surprised by the twist. I was satisfied with it, but it didn't really take me by surprise. But I did really enjoy this. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Then again, another thriller, I picked up They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. This is like the female version of Dexter, basically. It's this professor, and she finds like these horrible men on campus that commit like heinous crimes and get away with it, and she kills them. So she's like a serial killer. And this book follows two perspectives. It follows Scarlett and Carly, and you're kind of trying to figure out like what's going on that links them. And Carly is a freshman student at this college, and one of her friends gets like sexually assaulted at a party, and nobody really does anything about it. And then you've got this professor that's murdering these like awful men. And that's all I'm really gonna say about this one. Female Dexter. It was good. 4 out of 5 stars. The next books I picked up were A Flame and Next to Never by Penelope Douglas. This is a bind-up of the two. I don't have the individual copies, but The Next Flame is what the bind-up is called. So this is the final book in the Fall Away series, which is the first one is Bully by Penelope Douglas. I don't want to say too much about this one because I don't want to spoil the rest of the series, but I did really like these. I'm happy with how the stories ended up wrapping up. And now I'm ready for the spin-off series, which is the Hellbent series, following all of the couple's children from this series. And after reading these, I'm just like really ready for the Hellbent series. And I think the first book comes out like soonish this year, October. I think it's called The Falls Boys. I don't know, but I did really like these. I gave A Flame 5 out of 5 and Next to Never 4 out of 5. Then I picked up Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. I read this with Ashley from Ashley's Little Library. She read Migrations by this author earlier this year, and it's like one of her favorite books of the year. And so I didn't know anything about this book, and it was a book of the month pick, and I just saw Ashley was like, heck yeah, I'm picking up that one. And I was like, all right. And I loved this. I mean, first of all, the cover is stunning. But basically, it follows this scientist or this conservationist, Inti, who is trying to introduce wolves back into the wilderness of Scotland. And the townspeople are super against it because they have like livestock and they're just worried about having like predators like that introduced. And then somebody ends up dead, and it kind of looks like maybe the wolves that they introduced into the wild were responsible, and Inti is like for sure that they weren't, so she tries to figure out if the wolves didn't do it, then who did. And I really loved this. I thought that the mystery aspect of it was really cool, and I also really liked all of the talk about wolves, like just introducing predators into a habitat and like the whole, I don't know, just the whole thing. I really liked it. I'm super excited to pick up this author's other book, Migrations, because Ashley said that one was even better than this, but we both really liked it. This was good. 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read back on my romance kick was Culty by Mariana Zapata. This is by far my favorite Mariana Zapata book that I've read so far. Granted, I haven't read a lot. This is my third. This is my third. If you don't count hands down, it's my third. And this one follows Sal, who is a professional soccer player, and all her life she's been like obsessed with this soccer star, Culty, and turns out he becomes one of her like assistant coaches for her team, and she actually like doesn't like him when she meets him in real life. And there's like this thing with her brother, who also was a professional soccer player, and like Culty hurt him in a game or something, and he didn't like apologize or whatever. He was kind of a dick about it. And so she's like kind of like rubs her the wrong way at first, and she kind of gets sassy with him and stuff. And then they end up developing a friendship after they like clear the air a bit. And it's just, it was so great. First of all, I love a good sports romance. I loved the soccer aspect of this, and the very slow burn, like hate to friendship to love was just impeccable. It was so good. And this has one of those tropes, if you can call it a trope, where one of them speaks a different language than the other, and they call them like a pet name in their other language, and the other, like the person that's getting called that pet name doesn't know what it means. I love when that happens. But yeah, I absolutely adored this book. I gave it 5 out of 5. Then I read the bonus material for the Fall Away series, which is like on Goodreads as Adrenaline by Penelope Douglas, and it's just like a bunch of bonus scenes and bonus stories. It's like a little over 100 pages of just like bonus content. So I read that, but I really don't feel like you can rate bonus content, so I just didn't give it a rating. The next book I picked up is Dirty Letters by Vi Keelan and Penelope Ward. I picked this one up for a video, which should be out before this video. I picked it up for my reading books I picked up because of Steph Bohr. Basically, I saw her recommend this. If you like Punk 57, then you should try Dirty Letters. And I totally get the comparison because they have very similar premises, but I just didn't like Dirty Letters. It was way too fast. There was not enough buildup at all for me, and it kind of felt a little stalkery on both ends. Like, both of them were just doing some weird crap. And yeah, some of their letters, I was like, who would do that? Who would write that? Nobody would write that. That's just weird. Yeah, I mean, there were some cute moments. I will say that. There were some cute moments, but it just was not my cup of tea. I gave it 2 stars. Then I picked up Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey, which is book 2 in the Hot and Hammered series. The first book is Fix Her Up. I didn't really like Fix Her Up. It was okay, but I did not like Love Her or Lose Her. And I kind of knew that. Like, I know that now. I don't like the marriage in trouble, second chance romance trope. Like, the first book in the Bromance Book Club is that trope, marriage in trouble, second chance kind of situation, and I didn't like it. And I was like, I'm not interested in that trope. And this was kind of a similar situation. Like, you never get to see them developing their relationship, which is what I enjoy about a romance book, is like seeing the build up to them like falling in love. But in a marriage in trouble, like they've already been in love and just like fell out of love, and now they're trying to fix it. Like, I don't care about that. I just don't like that trope. So I gave this a 2.5 stars. It was, I mean, probably a 2 to be honest, but again, ratings are subjective, so moving on. The next book I read was Hideaway by Penelope Douglas. This is book 2 in the Devil's Night series, which I am making my way through. I love these covers, by the way, the new covers. I love them. But this one follows Kai, and basically it's like a hate to love, kind of toxic a little bit romance. It's very dark romance, so if that's not your thing, I would skip this series altogether because it's pretty dark at times, and there's a lot of things that, you know, make me go, ooh. But I'm still here for the ride, man. It was wild. It was a fun time. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then my reread for the month was The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This was a reread in anticipation of his next book coming out, Under the Whispering Door, which I am so hyped for. But this book is one of my favorite books of all time. It is so sweet and cute and wholesome, and I just feel like you can't not like this book. Unless like fantasy and like magical, whimsical things are not your cup of tea, then I guess I can understand it, but like, it's just so sweet. 5 out of 5. It's just the cutest thing ever. These next 2 books were for that same Steph Bohr vlog. This one is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I had been wanting to read this one for quite some time, but I just didn't get around to it, and when I saw Steph like hyping it up, I was really excited to get to it. And this one definitely packs a punch. It's very emotional. It's like a friends with benefits situation where Tate moves in with her brother, and one of her brother's like best friends lives across the hall, and they strike up a friends with benefits situation, and Miles, the guy, basically says, I have 2 rules. Don't ask about my past and don't expect a future. And Tate's like, okay. But then, of course, as she starts like catching feels for him, she starts getting curious about his past and wondering why they can't have a future. And it's just a very emotional ride. I would put several different trigger warnings or content warnings on this book, so check my Goodreads review if you have some things you need to watch out for. But this was a 4.5 out of 5. And then the last book that I read in August was Brightside by Kim Holden. I originally read this as the audiobook following along with the ebook, but I loved it so much that I had to get the physical book because when I reread this, which I definitely will, I want to annotate in it. I adored this book. It follows this girl, Kate, who her nickname is Brightside, and she definitely earned that nickname because her optimistic attitude towards life and just like her attitude in general is so like sunny and beautiful. Like you just gotta love Kate. Like she just always has a good attitude towards things, even when things are kind of crappy. She's like, you know what, I gotta deal with it. It is what it is. And she's always able to look on the bright side. One of like the things in this book is they say Kate doesn't look on the bright side, she lives in it. But yeah, she goes, like, travels from California to Minnesota to go to college, and she goes into this coffee shop and meets this boy Keller, and they kind of hit it off, and yeah, the story really goes from there. It's just, it was so good, and it just really makes your perspective on life change a little bit, and just makes you want to, you know, live on the bright side. And I gave this a 4.5 stars. I feel like I would give it a 5 stars now that I'm looking at this. You know what? Who cares? If I give 5 stars to like 30 books, is that really such a bad thing? I'm just reading books that I really enjoy, you know? I don't know. You tell me. I don't know what to do about my ratings anymore. All right, here are most, oh, that was scary. Here are most of the books that I read in August. A lot of them I read on ebook, or I didn't like them, so I got rid of them. But yeah, this is a very good stack of books, and I read a lot of good books in August. Like, a lot of my ratings are 4 stars or higher. But again, they're so subjective. Yeah, I think it was a great reading month. I am really happy with this little stack I've got here. Let me know your thoughts, first of all, on ratings and what you think. Just let me know, because I just would be super curious about how you rate books, how you think I should rate books. I know they're subjective, but like, I don't know, I just want some sage words of wisdom if you've got them. And let me know if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts were. I would love to hear it. Leave it down in the comments down below. If you liked this video, you can like and subscribe to let me know. I'd really appreciate it. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye!